We'll breathe for a minute.
That's right. So that allows us to test video and sound.
And everybody's here that needs to be here, right? We're not waiting for anybody else.
We're missing Dr. Thompson.
Is she coming tonight?
She didn't say she wasn't.
Yeah,
You
he
know,
said-
she's got her mom.
You're presenting from here, right? Alright.
You won't be in view if you present from there,
So go.
okay? But Mr. Vat will leave, and so you and Dana could come to this side if you wanted to,
Okay.
right? And that's not until the next meeting anyway.
Right.
So, okay.
Or I could do my, switch.
Mrs. Walters, there are 3 public comments that I will read,
Okay.
okay?
All right, I'll call the activities meeting to order. I just want to let the public know that we have 3 board members on the phone conference tonight. So Mr. Gerhardt, Mrs. Dolan, and Mrs. Venus Clemens are all on the phone. So we'll start with our policy for public comment. According to policy number 903, public comment, which is limited to 3 minutes, should be directed to the presiding officer rather than individual board members, district employees, or members of the public. For confidentiality and privacy rights, specific comments regarding particular individuals must be communicated privately to the school board and superintendent via email at psdschoolboard@penridge.org. And we did have 3 public comments submitted via email, and Dr. Bolton is going to start us off with those.
Thank you, Ms. Walters. The first is from Kyle Esposito from East Rock Hill. I am ready to express my sincere appreciation that the Penridge School District is participating in the community screening of Walking While Black and group discussions on October 29th, sponsored by the Peace Center, our community police, district attorney's office, and with the participation of our local police. This is an opportunity for our community to have open conversations and to attempt better understandings of our varied perspectives. During this especially divided moment, I am optimistic and hopeful to see such broad participation in this program from the Penridge community. Thank you for taking this important and positive step. And since he just made the public comment, I just do want to announce at our last meeting, we were tentatively set up for October 14th. That screening has been moved to October 29th. And there will be communication that goes out from the district later this week regarding that for people to be able to register through the Peace Center. And so that information is coming in the next week or so for an October 29th screening and public conversation. Public comment number 2 is from Robert Sellers of East Rock Hill. The overwhelming majority of Penridge residents are hardworking, proud, patriotic Americans that believe our rights come from God. We believe all races are created in God's image. Our Penridge families of all races have fought, suffered, and celebrated towards the greatness of America. As you consider your upcoming curriculum, it is important that you remove all critical race theory and diversity training from our schools. Critical race theory and diversity training is a theory that divides people and is based solely on racial dynamics. Critical race theory and diversity training denounces people not on their individual characteristics, but on their inborn identity. This was wrong to do in the past, and it is wrong to do now. Critical race theory and diversity training segregates and divides our children and families. These segregated groups are labeled as inherently oppressor versus the oppressed, and these segregated groups are taught they must feel their privileged shame. The others are taught that they are victims and they live in a country that is rooted in racism and evil, and they will never be able to achieve. This curriculum must not be taught in our schools. We need to teach our children the greatness of America. We need to teach our children that our diversity is what makes America unique and great. As you review Penridge curriculum, I ask you consider the 1776 Unites curriculum that teaches our children the greatness of diversity and the greatness of America. The 1776 Unites curriculum highlights examples of great Americans facing the challenges of their time and through hard work and a belief in themselves and America achieved greatness. Please approve curriculum that unites us as Americans, not divides us. Thank you. And the final public comment for the beginning of the meeting is from Kim Badillion from Percy Borough. In light of the DEI initiative presented at the last school board meeting, I would like to ensure that DEI initiatives do not come at the expense of excellence in educational materials. Specifically, I believe the quality of the curriculum needs to be the primary motivator when choosing curriculum, and DEI concerns secondary. What measurements will be used to determine whether curriculum is equitable, and who will make that determination? Will all viewpoints be given voice, respect, and consideration when making curriculum choices? For instance, the 1776 Unites project has an excellent set of unifying and diverse curriculum. Will the 1776 Unites curriculum be given consideration? How will the curriculum committee take into account the most recent executive order from President Trump, which denounced the divisive and racist aspects of critical race theory? And those are the public comments for this evening.
Thank you. We have 3 items on the agenda tonight for activities. The first one is the overnight trip proposal for the cheer competition.
Mr. Babbitt.
Yes, my name is David Babbitt. I'm the athletic director, and our head coach, Gabrielle Larson, could not make it tonight. She's a teacher, and she had an ill student, so she's staying away tonight. I did bring Dr. Courtney Stanislaw. She's a former grad here of Penridge, and she's now our assistant coach, and she's our first cheerleading coach that is a doctor. She's a PhD. Physical therapist.
Yes.
So she'll be here to help us out with any things that need explaining. The girls each year take a trip to Florida, to Disney World, to compete in the national competition hosted by UCA. It's a cheerleading association. The cheerleaders, their itinerary, they would leave on the morning of Thursday, February the 4th from the airport, and their flight is scheduled to depart at 11:20 a.m. from Philadelphia International. And then on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the UCA hosts the high school national championships for both game day divisions and traditional competition routines. So last year, our team went down in a game day division. It's basically sideline cheering. And this year, they're proposed to do both game day and game day again. Okay.
Game day and traditional.
And traditional. The teams who qualify would move on to the final round, which would be held on Sunday. And these performances are a wonderful way for the cheerleaders to be scouted by colleges and gain valuable experiences from college athletes. Cheerleading competitions can run over schedule, so we would plan to fly back on Monday, February the 8th. Our plane is scheduled to land at 3:05 p.m. on Monday, so students would be able to return to school on Tuesday, February the 9th. The participants. All the PHS cheerleaders grades 9 through 12 are welcome to attend and support their teammates. If the game day team qualifies, we expect 19 athletes to compete. If the competition team qualifies, there would be 15 athletes that will compete. There are cheerleaders that are rostered on both teams, and parents would have the final choice to send their cheerleader in a support position if one of the teams would not qualify and the other does. The dates: Thursday, February 4th to Monday, February 8th. These dates may change depending on flights that are booked. As of September 30th, we expect to leave the Philadelphia airport on Thursday, February 4th at 11:20 a.m. Our flight will return, is expected to leave Orlando at 12:40 p.m. and land in Philadelphia at 3:05 p.m. School days missed. And this would include early dismissals as well as days of school missed. It'd be Thursday, February the 4th, Friday, February the 5th, Monday, February the 8th. The rationale for the trip. The UCA Nationals are a prestigious event for the individual athletes that perform on the mat, as well as the high school itself. The cheerleaders are recruited by colleges with respected cheerleading programs. Past precedent. Penridge cheerleaders competed in UCA Nationals in 2018. The trip was approved for 2019 season. However, the cheerleaders did not receive a bid. In 2020, the game day team qualified to compete in nationals, UCA Nationals, and attended the nationals. So last year they won it. The cost, the individual cost per student. The cost is approximately $1,200. Based on our attached unsigned contract, the cost of a round trip ticket would approximately be $55. A $50 deposit is due on October 12th, and parents are aware that this is a non-refundable after November the 6th. Based on the prices put forth by Disney, each cheerleader pays $671 to stay at the Disney Resort. The price includes a 4-day park pass, transportation from the airport to the hotel, and from the hotel to the event, and 3 meal vouchers. The family of each athlete pays a monthly fee to the Booster Club for this trip. There are some fundraisers available to help defer the cost of for the families. Each chaperone pays their own way to participate in this trip. We have intentionally over budgeted to help plan for last minute changes. Any money that is not used towards the trip would be returned to the parents. If possible, the district would provide busing to the airport, like we did in the past. There are several fundraisers planned to help defer the cost of individual athletes. They include restaurant nights that donate a portion of the sales towards the athletes who help, cheer clinics, sponsorship shirts, a mask fundraiser, performances at the Percy Farmers Market. With the current restrictions, the Booster Club has been looking for alternate fundraising opportunities to help defer the cost to individual families. Chaperones. Include numbers of the chaperones that will be on the trip. The parents who volunteer for this trip are chaperones who would pay their own way to Florida and stay in the same complex to supervise the girls. Based on attendance, we hope to have a 1-to-6 student ratio for chaperones. Security at the event. Once at Orlando Airport, the cheerleaders will be staying at the Disney Resort, which has gated access and security staff for all their properties. Emergency plans. Accidents and cancellations can happen, and we would follow the protocol set forth by the airline and/or UCA's contract with Disney. Other information. COVID specific. Contingent upon the COVID restrictions in February of 2021, cheerleaders would need to be prepared to comply with mandated precautions put forth by the airline and Disney's hotel and venue regulations. Varsity is working on more specific plans to keep the athletes and their families safe while in Orlando. When that is communicated to the team, they will be passed along. We are seeking approval, not so that we have reasonable assurance that we would be permitted to go ahead with booking the flights and hotel. The cheerleaders and their families are planning on meeting once approval is made to ensure that all the families are willing and able to travel via airline to see the girls compete. As opposed to previous years, we would not be using a travel agent to arrange these plans. Instead, we would invest the additional money towards travel insurance. that's the plan that's outlined for the trip. Courtney, do you have anything else to add?
I think you covered everything.
Does anybody have any questions?
I'm just wondering
I
what
do.
your alternative fundraising ideas are. We're working on each child, trying to come up with sponsors as they're able to, which some already have. Some girls have found sponsors that have provided $500 or more. Some have done less. One fundraiser we're doing is selling sponsorship t-shirts. So we use the money from the sponsors to make a shirt for the girl, or for the girls. And then we would also be selling additional ones of those that don't say cheerleading on it, so that anybody from the district could buy it. They have a P on it with a ram head, and it says Rams. It would be like a hunter green shirt with a white logo. Another fundraiser that we're doing is a mask fundraiser. We just put in the deposit today to purchase 150, and we're asking each girl to sell 5. And then as that kind of reaches all the masks that we've purchased, then we'll go ahead and purchase even more. And then those could be marketed with the same logo as the t-shirt to anybody in the district. We're hoping to sell them at, like, between the community, in school. We'll send out an email to Mr. Rab, and he can forward it to anybody in the district. The middle elementary schools, the high school, their teachers, and then the girls are also doing a performance at an event with the Percy Borough for a movie night in the park, where they're allowed to sell concessions, and they can sell sponsorship t-shirts there, and they can sell the masks there too. I'm not sure if we're allowed to sell anything at the football games, but we would have masks for the first football game if that's an option. And then we have a cheerleading clinic that we're doing outside, kind of socially distanced. We'll make sure that everyone is COVID compliant with the rules set forth by the athletic department.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, Lisa, I just have a few things. First, you mentioned that you're going to meet with the families to ensure that they're all willing to travel via airline. What are you going to do if you can't get enough families to meet your chaperone numbers?
In the past, we haven't had that as an issue. All of the girls who would be going on this trip have attended this competition before, whether it was with our team or a more junior level team. Last year, we also had a number of parents who attended the competition, but not as chaperones. So we actually had quite a large group of people who went down. Most of the families are kind of aware that we would need parents and chaperones to step up to fill those roles.
It's just a little different this year, right? We
Yeah,
know it's a little
yeah.
different. And I just want to make sure that you're convinced that all the parents are willing to travel.
Yeah.
Second thing that I would be looking for, and I throw it out to my fellow board members, is a COVID release. So all of these young ladies are traveling outside of our protected zone. We've created a protection zone here at the school, and we have policy and procedure. And you're going to be traveling outside of that protection area. So I'm going to be looking, that I would look for a COVID release that releases the district of any liability should anybody contract COVID while they're on the trip.
I agree.
Yeah,
I think that's
I think that would be prudent.
And Dr. Shai, can you address to some level in terms of the purpose of this was to bring it forward to you to see whether they could continue to plan this?
Yep.
But we had some communication about a final approval date. We obviously right now cannot determine whether this is going to be an appropriate trip in February or not. We hope it is, but obviously we can't make that determination today. And so I believe we've set a target date to be able to make this final determination. Is that correct, Dr. Shai?
I don't know that we had a very specific date, but we had apprehension too, and we had questions too. But we allowed this to come forward so that you could deliberate and make decisions. The idea of a COVID release for the district obviously makes really good sense. But in terms of a hard, fast date, we'll get that to you. But we wanted to at least be able to present it tonight so that you'd be able to ask those questions. We want to support our cheerleaders to go on that trip, but we are living in different times, right?
Yeah. Varsity, which is the organization that owns UCA, and owns many of the cheerleading organizations, is working kind of with the different governing areas to make sure that it is safe. Right now, all the competitions are virtual up until nationals. So if the competition is in person, they've been working on different methods to allow it to be safe so that the risk of contracting COVID is diminished as much as they can allow it to be. For other competitions that they've hosted, right, I think it was in March, they've done different things to kind of keep your group as the only group in the area at one time, and then your entire group leaves, and then another group would come in. So that's one way they're looking at decreasing the risk, and then they're also looking at adjusting the dates of the competition pending how kind of everything's going with the climate.
And that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we'll want a full list
Yeah.
of all their precautions and
Mhm.
such. And I think we understand that the dates may change depending on
Yeah.
what's happening in February
That's
of this
understood.
next year.
Mhm.
But
But I do think that the release would be prudent because we're not just talking about, I mean, that's 4 days of tickets, transportation. So there's personnel and other people that you know, our people, you know, we know what our protocols are, but we don't know what other guests will do.
Yeah.
So, you
Yeah.
know, I've been on a flight where somebody refuses to put a mask on, so, you know.
Yeah, the airline that we were looking at was American Airlines,
Oh.
and is that bad?
They just,
They sounded reassuring on the phone. They had the lowest cost too. But they were saying that their COVID precautions are all listed on their website, and it seems pretty similar to what Penridge has in place. Wearing a mask all the time, trying to kind of minimize who's on the plane as much as they can, like with middle seats and stuff like that.
So should we revisit this in December?
Well, I think the question is, are we comfortable taking this forward for approval, understanding that it's contingent upon the situation?
Yes.
And we will bring updated situations to you.
Yeah.
I know that there have been questions from families regarding traveling to states that are on Pennsylvania's list in terms of returning, and I know that Florida is currently on that list. So the question would be, what would happen as students come back from that? Those decisions are made on a case-by-case determination depending on what has happened in the state and where they've been and what they've done. And so those determinations in terms of what that quarantine, if any, would happen, and we would communicate that clearly with the families as they're helping to make those decisions closer to the February dates if the trip is to happen.
Okay,
All right?
thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Okay, the next item is the trip proposal for the Alps and Mediterranean coast.
Well, good evening, everyone. I am not Miss Nikki Marchese. Nikki Marchese was unable to come this evening, so I told her that I would do my best at presenting her proposal here. Nikki is a guidance counselor at North Middle School, and she has presented here proposals to the committee prior. So she's very comfortable and experienced with planning rather extensive trips as we saw last year. So I will go over her trip. It's the Alps and the Mediterranean coast. She wanted you to know that she just loves to travel, and she thinks that giving opportunities to students is an incredible way for them to grow personally and learn about the world. She has some pictures here. She's using EF Educational Tours. They have over 55 years of experience, staff on the ground 365 days a year in over 50 countries, including an office in Paris, France. World leader in international education, accredited just like our school. Other nearby districts that travel with EF are Quakertown, Parkland, and Central Bucks. She goes on to talk about the safety on the tour. EF will provide our group with a dedicated personal tour director, safety and incident response team, enhance safety precautions and procedures. And again, I should have said this before, this is planned for 2022, so we're a couple years off. So I don't know what those safety precautions will be at that time. 1 chaperone spot for every 6 travelers that enroll, and support for Penridge safety policies. So the itinerary, which sounds amazing, they are going to Lake Lucerne, Lake Como, Monte Carlo, Provence, Sagrada Familia, and Park. I can't say that too well. I'm not sure. I'm the German. I think. But they're going to the French Riviera, Barcelona, Cinque Terre, and Lucerne. So it does sound like an amazing trip. Their tour dates. They're traveling somewhere in between. The earliest departure would be Sunday, June 19, 2022. It's an 11-day tour, and the latest return would be Sunday, July 3rd, 2022. They'll confirm exact departure and return dates closer to the tour. Let's see, students who travel, we're talking about what students gain. They expand their knowledge of the world around them, discover more about themselves, grow more confident and independent, come to understand more about new people, places, and cultures. And I will go over what's included. So what's included is round-trip airfare, safe, quality hotel rooms, full-time professional tour director, on-tour transportation, educational itinerary, guide tours and activities, breakfast and dinner daily, 24/7 on-tour assistance, travel support team, tour donation page, project-based learning program, Common App College essay toolkit, travel backpack, global travel protection plan. Okay. So there is flexible payment involved here, because it's a hefty price. It's $4,555. There are options, flexible payment options. There's a $107 bi-weekly, $214 monthly, or pay it in full. Additional opportunities to fund their travel will be Global Citizen Scholarship, so they could apply for that. They also have a donation page where their friends and family and such can donate to their trip for birthdays and things like that, which I think is pretty typical nowadays. And for early enrollment, there's a $300 discount. The timeline, this is what Nikki is planning on doing if she's able to proceed. To introduce the tour to students in early November, a virtual interest meeting on November 12th. Families will have 1 week after the meeting to enroll risk-free and earn the $300 discount. Families will start making payments but can choose to cancel any time before May 1st, 2021 and be refunded 100% of that.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
Yes, there's a lot of insurances in here.
I love that.
So I'll be happy to try to answer any other specific questions. If I can't, then I'll bring them back to Nikki and have her do that for us. So in 2 years, I don't know what the world will be, but we hope it's
Much better.
better.
It'll be much better.
Does anybody have any specific questions?
I remember the original one, the presentation was
Yeah.
excellent. I was like, oh.
We all wanted to go. I think it was Australia.
Yeah, we all have
That's
some
a long
chaperones.
flight.
Mr.
Dr.
Krause?
Scheid, are the chaperones paying their own way, or are they subsidized?
No, they're subsidized through EF. I
Okay,
mean, through the funding from the students.
okay.
Mhm. But it did say that they had some costs, like the trip insurance
Yes.
and things, yeah. There's a couple of things.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Again, the same, you know, we don't know what things are gonna look like then.
Right,
So we'll keep an
Of
eye on it,
course.
yeah.
Of course.
Yep.
All right, thank you, Dr. Scheid. And then the last item is the celebration of our new website.
That was enthusiastic.
Is there cake?
I'm sorry.
Forget it, we're leaving.
I didn't bring cake, I'm sorry.
We should be bringing you cake.
Yes, so I will pull it up here for you. So we are so excited to announce the launch of our newly designed website. As you all know, the board was involved in this process from the start. So thank you for your continued support on this project. I know it is vital to the community. It is such a big deal for us to have this nice, shiny new website. So you can go to www.penridge.org and check it out for yourselves, but I did want to just give you an overview. We hope that this website provides the community, families, students, and staff with an easier way to learn about our district and the news and all the wonderful things that we're doing here. And it's also a central place for communications, family resources, and information. So this is really the hub of communication for our district. So we're very, very excited. Before I get into some of the fancy stuff, we would really, really like to thank the building principals and their webmasters at each building for working tirelessly this summer in addition to all the other responsibilities that they had. They were excellent and amazing in migrating a lot of the important information on the old site to the new one, gathering photos, really thinking strategically about where information is, where should it live, and really making it easy for our families. I'd also like to thank department leaders. So a lot of the secretaries in the district office also have some pretty extensive pages. If you think about what goes into the HR website, or the HR page, there's a lot of information. So they were incredible, and HR is just one example. Websites are living and breathing things, so we're so excited to see this grow and change and evolve and just get bigger and better. Before I move on, one more thing. I would like to thank our webmasters. There is a team of 5 people in the district that throughout the whole process, from start to finish, were so involved and ingrained in this process. And that is Chris Brockman, Danielle Dickinson, Dan Alexander, who is with us tonight, so please give him a shout out. And Diane Miller. So the 5 of us really were, this was our little baby for the summer. So, but on fun stuff. So we have our homepage. There's a lot of movement on our homepage. So when you hover over things, you know where you're clicking, you know what you're looking at. We have these 5 icons that are our quick links, really trying to make the most important information for families accessible. Up here you have this easy navigation tool. You can navigate on any site to any site, which is awesome. So if I'm a goose mom and I have a kid at the high school too, I can quickly navigate to where I need to go. Another feature is the translation feature, which we're very excited about. So if we picked any of these languages, our website would translate into those, which is really incredible. Social media icons, these will live on each page. Each page will have individual social media icons if they have their sites. So if you're on North, you can get to North's Twitter, and so on and so forth. This amazing multimedia gallery might be my favorite part. I love these photos. I love hopping onto any site and just seeing kids and their smiling faces and our teachers doing what they do best. It is so exciting. In this spot here, when we navigate to another page, you'll see video as well. So we can take any video that lives that our incredible students create and put it up here. We also have a fancy new calendar feature. So if I clicked to our new calendar, you can integrate this to your own personal cell phones. So if you want to do that, if you want to know what's going on at Bedminster, you can have that right at your fingertips, as well as the district information, school board information. So it's all right here. Another really great feature that I just want to highlight is the directory. The directory lives on the district site, and it funnels through each site. So anything that changes on the Guth site will easily translate and will automatically translate to the district site. So you can pretty much find anybody anywhere, which is really cool and just a really nice feature. It's also responsive. So if I shrinked this down, it would adjust and would, also any device that you're using, we all know that we get most of our information from our phones now. So if I'm on phone, I can access the same information, which is cool.
So I'll just scroll down and show off this homepage pretty quickly. So we have our headlines and features, which is just, really quick business stuff, information that our parents and families might want. Upcoming events, I can scroll through and see some kind of cool stuff here. Our proud principal prepares, just an incredible photo. And then at the bottom here, we have our site shortcuts, and Twitter and Facebook feeds are integrated there. So we'll check out the high school's page, because they're pretty cool. And I'll show you their video here. So this is the Class of 2020 senior video that automatically plays when you land on the high school's page. And then the information that is pertinent to the high school, athletics, students and
That's
families.
awesome.
No, they're all live.
That is really
That's great.
cool.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you like it. Very exciting. Same thing, so you'll notice that on all of the sites, they have the same look and feel. But when we move to, I think, if someone closer can help me, am I at Bedminster?
That's
Yes.
Bedminster.
Is it? Good,
Yeah.
okay. So when we go to Bedminster, you'll see that they have the same layout, but they're custom to their own colors and their own logos. So things are in the same place. So our parents can get where they want to go very easily.
Very cool.
Good, yeah. They can customize their text there, they can customize their feeds.
So you
it
can
looks-
see there at the bottom, it's their Twitter,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but because they don't have Facebook, it's the district Facebook.
Gotcha.
So that can be, as they make those adjustments, that can be
I like that.
That's neat.
custom for their building.
Nice, that's nice.
But I like that it's uniform.
Yeah.
Yes.
Itinerary is just nice.
And do you notice the right-hand side has expanded because there are more options at the building level in terms of like Power School and Seesaw and
Yeah.
some things that an elementary parent would need that don't show up on the district page but do show up on the individual pages.
You can tell the amount of work. That was, can't imagine.
Is that where am I at? Is this?
That's
Sellersville.
Do Sellersville.
That's a good one. So yeah, it's really nice. It's very clean, very simple, user-friendly. And then it's also extremely user-friendly for our webmasters. So the content management system that lives behind this is extremely user-friendly. Dan and I lived in it all summer, and once you're in there, it is, you just go. You can move because you know how to just navigate,
Good.
and the district, everyone in the district has really picked up on it, so it's been great.
It's awesome.
So thank you so much for your support. I'm glad we got to show this off tonight, and if you have any questions, please let me know.
Awesome.
Ms. Cooper, could you tell us a
Thank you.
little bit about the mobile app
Yes.
that is coming?
That mobile app is coming. So the mobile app is integrated with a lot of things. It's integrated with our AD, Power School, Schedule Star, so a lot of the products that we use as a district already. One of the great features about Blackboard, which is the company that we ended up choosing, it integrates with the mobile app. So, but the mobile app is tied to our mass notification system, which I think we've talked about for sure, definitely at the technology meetings, Mr. Rice. But as soon as the mass notification piece is done, that will integrate with the mobile app, and then the mobile app will launch. So it's pretty quick. They say that it can take just about 2 days. They give you a 2-day window, but I've heard that it can take only 2 hours. So once we have that piece ready to go, we will have a nice new mobile app, and you'll get notifications from me all the time on your mobile app. But only the fun stuff.
Does anybody else have any questions?
No? Wonderful, it's great.
Nicely done.
It's very nicely done.
It's a team effort.
Yep.
The first text was from Joe Ferry,
Ah,
who said it looks awesome.
I love it. I was at a 5-year-old's birthday party, and somebody came up to me and said, "Hey, did you get a new website?" And I said, "Yes, thank you."
You noticed.
Well, thank you, and Dan, thank you.
Yes,
I
thank
can
you.
speak firsthand to the number of hours that were spent going through all of this information, and continues to go through this information, because every week it gets a little better. Because the schools are finding time to update and upload things and communicate with their families. So really do appreciate all of the work. Thank you so much.
I think that is all. Do we have any public comments that came in, Dr. Bolton?
I am refreshing. There are no additional public comments at this time.
Okay, so that is the end of the activities meeting, and Mrs. Coleman, on to curriculum.
We will start our curriculum committee meeting. And the first item there are Katie and Ryan and Megan still
They are.
connected. And we'll start with the curriculum renewal presentation with Dr. Shai.
Oh, thank you very much.
I'm having a technical,
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Bolton.
Did you break it?
It's just Dr. Johnson, need a minute? I didn't even close it.
Well, it's on the screen,
Okay.
so I think if you.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm happy to be here tonight talking about curriculum and where we are and where we're going. We've had some discussions in the past. We're moving along, we're making some progress, and we really just wanted to give you an update on it. So again, why are we revising the curriculum? Some of the documents were antiquated, some weren't all there, and sometimes those documents didn't reflect our current resources. Times have changed and they're changing drastically. Best practices, deep understandings, 21st century skills. And besides, really revision should be constant in curriculum. Curriculum doesn't stay static. So, what are we doing? With curriculum, we're looking at everything. This is our third year really looking at all of it, and the hard work is coming this year. You will see the fruits of our labor at least by the summer. So we're looking at everything, and our teachers have worked with our coordinators and our supervisors, building leaders, and again, Dr. Heidi Hayes-Jacobs and Dr. Bennett Kallick, who have been part of this and have really brought tremendous information to our teachers and have moved us in our understanding. So it's been extremely exciting. When we look at our curriculum, we're looking at, hey, what is really good that we should be keeping here? What is there that is good, but we need to modernize it? What is antiquated and should be cut? And what is not there that we need to create? This is what the teachers have heard over these past 2 years of actual training. So we're focused on the future. We realize that we have students living in an ever-changing world. Everything is changing for them. We have to be thinking about our current kindergartners. What will life be like for them when they're in high school? So a lot of this conversation has been about the future. This is it for me. It wasn't ever about tweaking curriculum. It was never about an edit of curriculum. If you really want to impact student achievement, the teachers are the closest person to student achievement. It was about teaching them, educating all of our staff on a refresher for some teachers, a renewal for other teachers, because when you are going through education programs, as you know, some of us know, you don't get deep learning in curriculum. So it was really important that we took our time, and I appreciate your patience as we go through this. But now, as our teachers are learning and growing, that means that over time, they will always understand how to go about revising that curriculum or renewing that curriculum. And really, it's with, James in mind. It's always with a student that we're thinking about. So this has been about education from the very beginning, making sure that all of our staff and administrators understand how to design curriculum. So we've been working. We started in year one, we had a launch process, we've had many curriculum meetings. We started off with a group, I believe it was close to 40, and now it's all of us. Now it's everybody. And then in year two, we had habits of mind. We've talked about that. We are a social and emotionally aware district, and we have learned about habits of mind, and we've had refresher courses with Dr. Heidi Hayes Jacobs and Ben Kalik, and Dr. Kalik is one of the authors of that book. So when we are looking through the curriculum, we are teaching teachers about big ideas and essential questions, curriculum mapping timeline we created, we've talked about common assessments, and these are all the days, just to let you know that how much time we've spent on developing it. So this year, we have sessions set up by department. Our Encore teachers will be meeting with their supervisors and their coordinators, and Dr. Kalik and Dr. Heidi Hayes Jacobs. Obviously all virtual. They have been here, but they cannot be here now, so these will all be virtual sessions. What we have found to work best is to give each department their dedicated time. We had started out in multiple content areas, but we found it better. So each of those content areas, art and music and health and PE and such, will have their dedicated time. So that is kind of, a picture of the last 3 years. But I wanted to talk to you about what is important in curriculum design. And curriculum design isn't a textbook. And I think I've said that 1,000 times in my lifetime. Curriculum is not a textbook, right? We want to talk about what are the big ideas. What are the essential questions? Start there. Really, what is it that we want our students to know, to be able to do and understand? So we have spent a lot of time, because these aren't easy. Coming up with and are you going to say, Dana, that it's not because Dana's been part of this? It isn't. So we have gone through that, and I'm happy to report our curriculum in many areas has started, and we have come up with wonderful big ideas and essential questions that we will share with you this summer. So just for your reference, a big idea emphasizes the common characteristics of a unifying concept, and it's concise, it's a generalization, and then it applies across disciplines. And then essential questions, they don't have right or wrong answers. It's not the answer's A, the answer's B, the answer's up, the answer's down. It's something to promote inquiry, raise additional questions, spark discussion. They're timeless. We debate them. They foster critical thinking and a sense of wonder, and engages students in real life problem solving. This is not cursory content. This is deep thinking. And these are the essential questions. And there's not like 30 of them. There may be 2 essential questions. There may be 3 essential questions that match a big idea. But they're important enough that we want our students to be able to think deeply about and deliberate on. So that's kind of the meat of curriculum design and where we are. I just wanted to go over the timelines with you again. Now, we unfortunately have been living in the life of times of COVID, and it has prohibited us from really getting to where we wanted to go in the time that we wanted to get there. But we have a system that you approved last year. It's called Atlas Rubicon, and our teachers are working to input this curriculum into that system, and that's what you'll be able to see. So that's where teachers are now. And we're hoping, well, we do expect, because a lot of this work, especially in English, has been started. So in grade 6, our analysis of fiction and nonfiction, which is a reading class, we expect that. Grade 7, English, and grade 8 English to be finished, that we could share with you, at least, if not by June, definitely before the start of the next school year. 9th grade English, 9th grade Humanities, 10th grade American Lit. And as you can see, the next year brings different course content, renewal, and so on. But that's still English. Okay, I can't see, is that still English? Okay, so science, we'll have grade 6 and 8 science. We'll have biophysics, chemistry, criminology honors this year. In social studies, we'll have grades 6 and 7 and 8, and we'll have early American history and 9th grade humanities finished. Oh, can't. And in math, algebra 1 academic, algebra 2 academic, Geometry academic, pre-calc honors, calc honors. Algebra 1 in 7th and 8th grade. And that's a lot. I'm looking at it and I'm hyperventilating. Did I say that? That's a lot. But a lot of it is started, and we're going to be working. Our time really is dedicated for professional learning, as it was last year, this year, on curriculum writing. So when we have, for example, on October 12th, what will happen on October 12th is that half the day for secondary teachers, we are going to be a part of the professional learning with Dr. Gibson on culturally responsive curriculum. So when we talk about DEI and such, we have done some preliminary work on what are we doing really well, what do we still need, what's missing. We need to be looking at the novels by characters, by authors, who's represented, who's not represented. So that good work has been started. We are going to use October 12th as then a springboard into more discussions because Dr. Gibson will be, has already asked us to bring samples of our curriculum so that we can have a focused lens on the questions we should be asking. So that is the next level of work in terms of the district goal for DEI. We're excited about that. Oop. I did mention Atlas. Rubicon, it is just what we really needed, and this is why. It offers a relatively easy system for teachers. First, I'll back up. We created our own design model. The design model is in the system. The teachers then use that model to input the data in there, their curriculum and such. Teachers teaching the same course, they can look at it. If Mrs. Cullen and I were teaching the same course, you could be looking at that, I could be seeing what you're doing, you see what I'm doing, and we share that. So it opens up the communication system. I don't shut my door and only know what's in my curriculum. I can see what and we are going to grow together. And the other part of this that's, I thought was necessary, it's an accountability system. So this system actually will do the metrics on standards so that we would be able to get reports saying, indicating by course which standards are being targeted. So if there are certain standards that aren't especially eligible content for our Keystone exams and such, for one example, we are able to see that in a report and make sure that we go back and we can take care of that and add the standards that aren't there. So it gives us a reliable, a guaranteed curriculum, right? This is the curriculum that we're all going to agree upon. I can see it, you can see it, the administrators can see it. And that, so that when we're going into classrooms, we know exactly what is expected to be taught. And that is what we've agreed upon. And that is one of the highest indicators of successful school districts, is a guaranteed and viable curriculum. And this will ensure that for us. Oh, that's a lot of information. I'm out of breath. This is what it looks like, just to give you a little sample. So it gives you timelines on when things are taught. And teachers do this. This is work by teachers, and we have fabulous teachers in Penridge. And they have come up with really creative big ideas and essential questions and assessments. They have done a really nice job. So I applaud them all for their work.
I don't know if you can see it clearly, but we're only spending one day on snakes.
Good.
That's my favorite part of this. Everything else, we got multiple days. Snakes, one. Just
That's all they need.
hit it and get on.
These are just examples of what we're looking at when we go in. This is the integration of Canvas. So this is so great. I mean, it's really a wonderful tool for teachers because teachers live in Canvas, but you go back and forth, right? Because all you have to do is go to your Canvas page and you can go to your Rubicon page. So they go back and forth. And that was one of the reasons why we chose Atlas Rubicon.
Was that the presentation that Dr. Wojcik gave us?
The Atlas one last year.
We played it, we kind of played with it that night?
Yes, it was just that introduction to it
Yeah,
at the
okay.
initial training.
All right, I just wanted to connect.
I think that's the last slide.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's where we are in the world of curriculum design, and either in June, we may have some coursework to bring in June, but I'm hoping to have the things that I listed by discipline and more because of art and science, art and health and PE the encores. We'll be bringing those to you as well.
Does anyone have any questions?
No.
No? I just want, so when the teachers are all looking at this and you're saying it'll be the same curriculum, one of the things that, from time to time you hear is that it doesn't seem like the content is the same necessarily from class to class. And do you think that this will help with that without removing the teacher's autonomy though to do
Yeah.
things in her own way?
Yes, that's such a great question, because there's some non-negotiables. I'm a 7th grade at North and you're a 7th grade at Central. And we're taking the same course in our 7th grade science class. The content and the standards, the big ideas and essential questions are likely to be the same. There is always room for teacher creativity on pedagogy and instructional practice on how I'm going to get that across to my students may look different than how you're going to get it across to your students, but the outcomes are the same.
Okay.
And the outcomes are measurable.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We've been working hard on assessments,
Right.
real world application type of assessments, not just paper pencil. It's exciting. I can't wait to bring it to you when we're ready. Thank you.
And you can see, well, you can see the theme tonight is just us unpacking the district goals, right? So
Yeah.
as we unveiled the district goals last month, and we talked about websites, and we talked about curriculum, and we talked about elementary literacy, we wanted to spend some time just discussing those, give you updates in some cases, and celebrate some new things in others. So thank you for allowing us that time tonight.
Okay, we're ready to move on with Dr. Barczyk for the elementary literacy program review.
Asking for the time.
It's a passing of the controller. The
And
clicker.
this really is exciting because when you look at this and what Kathy just shared is exactly the direction we're going to be going in regards to the elementary. In the elementary, we're just starting off. We're going to be doing the Atlas training coming up on October 12th with all staff and everything. So we're excited at that level because we haven't gotten as deep as the secondary level. So it's going to be fun to go through. And when you look at a program like Collaborative Classroom and Making Meaning, Being a Writer, and Words Their Way that we're implementing at the elementary level, we're seeing the program details of it, but now we're going to be able to establish it into the curriculum component. And I think that's going to be a huge benefit to all our teachers and students, especially the students, as they go through the program. So I'm here tonight, and along with Mrs. Dana Lupinacci, one of our literacy coaches. As you know, we have Nicole Mashoni and Sarah Raber also as part of this team in implementing the elementary literacy program. But what we just wanted to do is kind of give you an overview of where we've been with the program and its implementation piece. So I'm going to just give the overview, and I'm going to have Dana, who's someone who's taught the program for 2 years, as well as now coaching with teachers, kind of emphasize more broadly in regards to its implementation piece. So as I said, we have the 3 components of Making Meaning, the Being a Writer, and the Words Their Way. And the great part of it is it's research-based, the whole class reading comprehension and vocabulary instructional program, and so on. And then the Being a Writer, a proven, again, a research-based writing curriculum. And then the Words Their Way is really the focus on the vocabulary and the spelling development through word sort and knowing where the students are, meeting them where they are by doing a spelling inventory at the start of the school year. And that way we can move with them as compared to just starting everyone at the same point and assuming they're all at the same place at the same time. And then our curriculum goals that we focused on as we worked through the implementation was the renewal and updating process of the curriculum. Again, this is where the whole Atlas is coming into play, and our professional development time, our professional learning time, I should say, with Heidi and Benna that we'll be participating in as we go over the next couple of years. But this is really exciting because it gave an opportunity to see how from going from a basal reader of Reading Street to the Making Meaning program, which is more of a holistic type of approach to teaching kids how to read, is really just beneficial to the strategies that students are learning. We're looking to diversify the texts that are K-12, but for our sake, for K-5, because it does come with a lot of mentor readers, the mentor text that is part of the program, and then teachers can pull different text features from those texts to highlight as they teach the strategies in the Making Meaning program and incorporate it into the writing and even the use of vocabulary and spelling. We want to increase student engagement in reading and writing, and there's no doubt about it, this program is all about students responding. There should be less teacher talking and more student responding to the learning that's taking place. As Kathy's mentioned, just about those big questions and the essential questions, that's where we get into particulars of the teachers looking for specific responses from students and understanding the strategies as they go through their reading and their writing program. The increasing student knowledge of vocabulary as through the words their way, and then implementing it into the Making Meaning and Being a Writer programs. The increased professional learning, which you're going to see on this presentation, the amount of professional learning that has taken place is just so worthy of the teachers being knowledgeable of the program and be able to deliver it in the manner that it's expected to be. And the collaboration, the increased collaboration. And actually, I have to say, one of the positives of all the COVID piece and everything is we've had so much more collaboration. We've brought teachers together more than we ever can through Zoom and everything. So they haven't been having a lot of discussions, especially at the elementary level with the 3 learning models. It's given them chances to talk to each other and the opportunity to decide how are we going to teach this strategy in a remote way, but then how are you going to do it hybrid and in person, but kind of maintain that continuum of learning. And then overall, our goal is that improve the percentage of students reading on or above at grade level at the end of 3rd grade, this is year 3 of that, and we're looking at our data. Obviously, with the data, we're in a tough situation because we did not have PSSAs. We did not have the opportunity to assess the students on Fontes Spinel in the spring. So we're looking at data points now, and we're associating them, or we're comparing them to last year's mid-year data points, so we can get a better idea of where students stand. On the next page, you're going to see the implementation timeline, starting in 2007 and 18, where we piloted at West Rock Hill in all grades K-5, the Being a Writer program. And then 1819 is where we brought in the Making Meaning and Words Their Way. The Making Meaning, and as you can see, was implemented at Sellersville in grades 1, 3, and 5, and at West Rock Hill at grades K2 and 4. So there was a K-5 span, but diversified between the 2 different schools and 2 different communities. As we get into 2019 and 20, the implementation went full at Sellersville and West Rock Hill. And then in the spring, in March, when we had the mandate closure of the schools, we actually went and looked at the 5 schools that had not implemented anything from the program yet, but came to a realization that if we put the read aloud framework into place, and that teachers were able to utilize that as part of their instructional piece during the closure, they would kind of get an understanding of the framework of the program. So we did that in the spring, and I'd say, and Dana can attest to it, it's worked really well, especially going into the full implementation of the program this year as we have done so. So the instructional design of balanced literacy, there's the 5 focus areas that we want to look at, and it's the phonemic awareness, the phonics, the fluency, the vocabulary, and the comprehension. And off to the right there, you can see the programs that address each of those different components within the areas of reading and word study. So this is really a visual, so you can see how they are integrated and working together as a full program. Even though there's 3 separate programs, they're integrated, so they're all working together to enhance the students' learning of reading, writing, and word study. And then that carries over into the workshop model. In regards to the workshop model, there is a whole group, the whole group lesson, and then the small groups, the one-on-ones, and so on. This is really important in the regards to the delivery of the program because it really gives the overall ability of introducing a strategy, working with a smaller group, making sure it's encompassed into the reading or writing that they're participating in, and then they get into small groups to help identify which students have their strengths and their weaknesses and take them where they need to be in their learning. The assessments that we're using the DIBELS. As always, we're using the Fontes and Pinel, or the F and P as we all call it in the educational world. The Words Their Way program assessment, there's an inventory, as I said, that's given at the beginning of the year. And we've had some challenges this year in giving that because remotely it's a little bit more difficult to give an assessment such as the spelling type of assessment. But the remote teachers have done a fabulous job in collecting that information. Dana and her team have created PLTs to help teachers work through how to assess and then collect the information they need. And I'm trying to say, place their students in the different levels that they need to be. And then the Making Meaning program assessments, those are the conferring notes. Teachers do a lot of conferring with their students as they read books and implement the strategies. There's rubrics involved in the program and student response journals. There are consumables to the program that the teachers can take advantage of and allow students to respond to different readings or read-alouds that they have conducted. Then there's the Being a Writer program where, again, conferring notes, talking with the child, working through with the student on their actual writing piece. And then there are rubrics, there's the student notebooks again, the rough drafts and the final copies. We are also using the Link It program where we use for K-2 the Form A and Form B. These are assessments in ELA that help to us just better understand the students where they are as an individual and then help drive our instruction to meet them where their needs are. And then same thing for grades 3 to 5, the CDT. And offering the CDT is an assessment for students to better understand where they are as a learner and better to drive our instruction. And then any of the local developed reading and language assessments, such as individual, student, and group specific. Whatever the teachers are doing in the classroom to create their own to better understand their learners as a whole. And I can't pass by with the picture on the right here because this is Chelsea Donfrey, who is a reading specialist at Sellersville. We offered for the remote students to come and participate in their assessments. So this was the drive-through assessment where the parent waited outside the white sheet. They parked their car, student came around, and she administered the DIBELS or F&P. So successful in accomplishing and gathering the assessment and data. And then our professional learning. So as you can see over the course of time, there's been a good deal of professional learning, and it will continue, and this is so essential to a successful implementation of the program itself. The Making Meaning, starting with online learning modules in 17-18, and then moving forward into lesson studies. Lesson studies are just an incredible experience for both teachers and the students, because what it does is it allows the teachers to watch a lesson evolve in front of them, not say anything. They watch the interactions more of the students to better understand how are they learning. So when they can remove themselves and then go back and reflect, okay, how did I deliver that lesson to my students that I could do differently the next time to better engage them or have them better understand or have them move forward with the strategy. And they're just so helpful and for that piece. And this past year we actually had all of the 7 elementary school principals participate in a lesson study. It was really neat just to watch and seeing the kids, I agree, and so they were so engaged with it and they were excited about seeing how the program was being implemented within the schools. And then the Being a Writer in 17-18 initiated training with the professional development through Collaborative Classroom. The lesson studies again, and you'll see that in the 18-19, there were additional lesson studies. And there was turnkey training. There were many teachers who became experts in the areas of being a writer and making meaning that became turnkey learners, and we call them buddy coaches as we did the training. So they were kind of the expert in the room and helped kind of ease the anxiety. The anxiety is the best word. To ease the anxiety as everyone's going, how am I going to do all this? But once they had that person to kind of coach them through, it was much better. Same thing with Sellersville. We had initial pilot training in 17-18, then 18-19, the Sellersville West Rock Hill pilot teachers training, and then the curriculum specialist at I'm going to say it wrong, I always do, because it used to be Pierce. Savis Learning in June were involved in helping with that presentation. And then it continues into 1920. Again, a lot of lesson studies. In the Being a Writer, we had literacy coach support in all the grade levels across the district. We had the professional learning sessions, and as well as the Words Their Way. Again, literacy coaches supporting these teachers and the delivery of the program and teaching the strategies. Buddy groups, again, being part of that. But as you can see, in 1920, there were a number of individuals of those lesson studies and what we actually focused on. The learning walks, helping the non-pilot teacher module, having them participate in the module trainings, the virtual training to make for making meaning, training professions, leading groups, learning leads, buddy groups, pilot classroom visits. So all of these were part of that ongoing professional development throughout the year. The one piece we did run into a little bit with a hiccup was there just wasn't substitutes to be able to cover classrooms, to go over and see some of the expert classrooms that have been piloting it for a couple of years already. But we did make it work. We got the majority of the teachers got to another school to see someone in their own grade level. And then this year, in the 2021, the literacy coach support, the lesson studies, and the PLT sessions, they continue to support the teachers as they implement the program. The literacy coach support, I can't give enough kudos to Dana. She's just been all over the place. I mean, especially the 5 schools that are just implementing. It's been a task in itself, but she's doing a great job. And it's been a great team. We've been supporting the remote teachers, the hybrid teachers, and really trying to keep them on track of how they're going to do this from that remote site. So it's been quite a feat. And then this is just, we love this. This, I can't remember, Sarah Raber, I believe, received this email from one of the 6th grade teachers. And this was literally her quote from the email. The new batch of 6th graders is just weird. They love reading. They know how to talk about reading books, and they came pre-programmed with accountable talk. Are they robots?
Great.
They gave me homework to read Tuck Everlasting, which they are all obsessed with. Their learning for 5th grade is definitely sticking. So just a true testament to what is going on with the new program.
That's awesome. Awesome.
So, Mrs. Lupinacci, first of all, thank you for your work. I told the story at my parent advisory last month now, right? It's in September, about how the day before I had been at 3 elementary schools and I saw the 3 literacy coaches one at a time at each building. And so it just speaks to the coaches being out there in their work. I was just wondering what you're hearing from the teachers in terms of their work with the new program. They had a little taste in the spring, but for lots of teachers, this is kind of the first time that they're using it. So what types of things are you hearing from them?
I feel like the one thing that was a blessing is we all have experience with being a writer. And so that translates so well to making meaning. And the setup is the same. So for them, it was very natural to take on the Making Meaning program. Vocabulary is something we're working through, which is a little bit of a struggle, fitting it into the time frames that we have this year in all 3 learning models. That's really been interesting. And we've been creative in helping teachers make that happen. And the Words Their Way new program in all 7 buildings with various teachers. That's been a sticking point. That's been a challenge for teachers because it is so brand new. I think once everyone gets through it this year, next year, they're going to have this experience and it's just going to go so much more smoothly. The word study itself is really, really awesome. The kids, we give that inventory, I just wanted to piggyback, we give that spelling inventory 3 times a year, beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of the year, so we can actually track the students' growth and see what strengths they've accumulated throughout the year. So that's really remarkable to see that change and that growth throughout the course of the year. The same with the F&P. We typically give that in the beginning of the year. If we have struggling learners, we give that mid-year and then again at the end of the year to track their growth and see the gains that they're making. So the Words Their Way, the inventory helps us as teachers figure out where the children are and what skills they need, phonic skills and word study skills they need. And then everyone's grouped into small groups within the classroom, and the teacher then meets with those small groups and teaches those specific skills to those specific kids. And then the other neat thing is, with the mid-year assessment, if you notice that a child that was in a lower group has progressed out of that group, you can then move them on and move them through the program, and they don't have to stay in one group. It does flow, which is really nice too.
So it cancels out, like for everybody that doesn't, it cancels out that old spelling list of just words that don't have a spelling pattern, or, you know, kids do well on the spelling test, but then they're not transferring it to their writing, so
Exactly.
it differentiates it for all the kids, so it is a good program.
Yes, and when we give assessments, they're not necessarily weekly assessments. Some teachers can choose to give weekly assessments. You can give them every other week. The program has a prescriptive time when it says you should assess, and they're actually assessing on the children's understanding of the skills that we taught as opposed to the words themselves. So let's say we're practicing ED endings, then we won't give the kids the same 15 words we worked on. They're going to be additional words to see if the kids can apply those skills that we taught.
Makes sense.
Transferring it.
I think it's great that they focus on the skills that they need to, when you target the skills that they're lacking, that's when you're going to actually see them progress faster. So, and I'm really glad to hear that they can enter a different level and not turn out hold back. So that's
Great.
And that's also the beauty of the reading program and the writing program that we're using. Having the opportunity to conference with our children one-on-one, the amount of information you get as a teacher is unbelievable. And then again, you can target those areas that you know that child needs help with. And then during that small group time that Dr. Labarczyk was talking about, that's where we would pull in some of those small groups and work with some of those kids, conference with those children, guide them, help them, and pull in some other additional resources to move them along and strengthen their reading skills and writing skills.
I also have to say, I am really happy about vocabulary. Even if it's a challenge, I'm glad that vocabulary is back on the menu for kids.
It's a new approach too. The Reading Street approach was very,
The amazing words.
very routine. And this is routine too, but
This
it's
is,
much more child-centered. The kids have fun with it. There's games that we play with them. This or that, thumbs up, thumbs down. It's much more interactive. It isn't a lot of writing, which for me was my first year. I was, oh my goodness, we're not having them write all these words. That was really hard for me to let go of. And so I did, and I couldn't believe how much more they enjoyed it, how much more they retained. It was just so much more meaningful.
And they're talking to each other.
Yes.
There's a lot of conversation going on in the classroom,
Yeah.
and it really is just unbelievable. And it's different leveled readers.
Yeah.
That's the great part about it, because when they partner up for the initial lesson, you know, that read aloud, they're having a conversation about that story, but they can learn from each other as they're talking about it in the setting and the character.
And that's the
So-
other thing I wanted to add to what you said. Both the Making Meaning and Being a Writer have a very heavy emphasis on social emotional learning and creating a class community, which is so important to promote that conversation. And so with each Being a Writer and Making Meaning, the children are, they get partners that the teacher just kind of hands out. Sometimes we'll cut a calendar in half with a picture, and the kids match up based on connecting that calendar together. Or I'll hand out all different cards, and they have to match up with the cards. So it's a random pairing, and that way we're showing that everybody in the room has something important to say. And really, as you mentioned earlier, that idea of the kids having this opportunity to converse, and they're creating the community. You as the teacher are fostering that community, and you're encouraging it, but you're not the sage on the stage anymore. You're really giving ownership to the children. It's beautiful to
A
see.
great way to form collaborative relationships.
And then just real briefly, Dana, because you and Nicole did the majority of the work, I'm not putting that out there, I'm not sugarcoat it. Collaborative Classroom came out because there was that concern about social emotional learning, especially our younger students. As we came back from a 6-month hiatus to some degree. I mean, we were doing learning and everything as we went on, but they came back with a really nice approach to opening up the school year. And can you just speak to what they put together and you and Nicole helped to develop and allow for the teachers to do?
Nicole and I worked the first 2 weeks. We literally locked ourselves in the room across the hall, and you weren't allowed to enter unless you had food or coffee. And we took all of the things that Collaborative Classroom created. They had the most beautiful lessons to help bring these kids back together, remind them about what a class community was. They were just so heartfelt, and we thought it was so important for all the teachers to begin the year with those lessons. So Nicole and I sat together and really planned for every grade level those first few weeks. We sorted through all the lessons. We let them know which lessons might be a little too advanced for some of the age ranges that they were being suggested for, and which ones were great, and which ones you could kind of keep in your back pocket for mid-year when you notice maybe your turn and talk needs a little sprucing up. You can pull that out, and they're just beautiful. And the text that the teachers are reading, the picture books that are selected or have been selected, why diversity, they're just beautiful stories, and the teachers love them and the kids love them as well.
Anyone else have any other questions about that?
That sounds great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Beth.
So the next item is the improvement proposal for kindergarten screening.
All right, they need to get better at it.
So I come to you this evening just to propose a new kindergarten screening assessment. We, after talking to all last year and the principals and the kindergarten teachers, there was some concern about the current assessment. It is something that was created by the district. It's been revised multiple times over several years. I don't even know how many pages this, but it's quite cumbersome, it's quite lengthy, it's very extensive, and the problem is you don't get your information, your data back very quickly. It takes, by the time you put it all into the spreadsheets and kind of analyze it, it takes a while. So what I'm proposing, and talking to a couple of the principals and a few of the kindergarten teachers who were in on the demonstrations of the product, is to implement a new assessment called Start Early Literacy. In my Digdies, I always say it wrong, but it's MY lowercase, capital I, capital G, capital D, capital I. And that's for the early literacy and numeracy. And what it is I went and had the opportunity, I started out first to see what districts were using this. And our neighbors to the north, Quakertown, are using the same assessments for kindergarten. And it was just quite impressive because it's something that can be administered within a 15 to 20 minute period, and as compared to the very lengthy one. And the data and results were almost immediate as you put them into the program itself. So it was something that was just very beneficial, and it's something I heard over and over from the kindergarten teachers, that they felt like they didn't get to really truly know where their students were as a learner until end of September, almost beginning of October at times. And so what this will do is it'll help speed that process along in regards to having it in their hands, helping to drive instruction, know where students are, and be able to address their needs within the at least first couple of weeks as compared to first couple months. So the implementation of the program will offer the effectiveness and efficiencies. The implementation of the program it provides teachers with valid and reliable data to drive instruction and to meet the students' needs. It does maintain a focus on the 21st century learning skills, as it provides data to guide teachers in developing instructions in emerging skills in reading and math, as well as the use of critical thinking, creativity, technology literacy, and social emotional development. So that will kind of encompass as they come out of that assessment and helping them to understand where their students are in those areas of the 21st century learner. It's purposeful data and insight that's needed to make informed instructional decisions. It's valid and reliable data that's research-based. So it's been through the litmus test over and over again through professionals using, creating it. The data analytics to maximize the impact while minimizing the amount of time requirement to administer and providing links to results. And then we'll continue to use the DIBELS, the phonics piece, the F&P, and also program assessments that we use on a regular basis. So the method of evaluation and how students will achieve, it's the early childhood assessments that are specifically designed to provide teachers with necessary data and drive instruction, monitor growth, and as the child progresses through their kindergarten program. And the students' results, again, from the assessments, will be beneficial in determining the success of the district literacy program and mathematics program based on making adequate progress because they achieved state and national standards. So in order to purchase each of the kits for the assessment, which would be coming out of the proposed 21-22 Ready to Learn grant, its total cost is about $28,743. They are kits, so there's licenses, there's student consumable materials, and so that is required, but it's a one-time purchase. Once you purchase the licenses, they're yours for as long as you use the program itself. And then there is an $1,800 course for the staff development piece, and that would take care of training all the kindergarten teachers. And I did call to confirm, once you are tied to the program and you get new teachers year to year in kindergarten, they are part of that. It's not an additional cost to now train your teachers beyond who you have. There are no staffing implications. It's a research-based assessment, as I had mentioned. So the project timeline would be initial kindergarten, the training of kindergarten teachers in August of 2021. And they'll participate in a virtual professional learning session for that. And then we'll be ongoing through kindergarten grade level meetings and planning to continue what we've learned in that initial session with virtual with the company and carry it over into ongoing. So questions?
I have a few questions.
Sure.
So your current assessment how is it administered? How is this one administered differently? And then how long does the current one take on average? And then how long does this take to do the actual assessment, not the data analysis portion?
Sure. So not the data part, just the administration.
Just the
of it.
administration. What is the difference?
So I was and talking to a couple kindergarten teachers, anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes
Per child.
per child.
And it's administered by her, he or she taking the time to.
So reading specialist, IST, and kindergarten teachers
All three of them do this?
help to administer this piece.
So that's 30 minutes per, what? No,
Per student, yeah.
Per
Per
student.
student.
Right.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's a long time.
So it's a lot of time taking to get
And the new
through.
one would take them,
15 to 20 minutes.
so you're cutting down 10 to 15 minutes
Mhm.
per student.
Mhm.
And the assessment it's more modern, obviously.
Correct, and it's research-based. Right.
Well, that's what I like. I like the research-based stuff. And so then the data analysis, so they have to manually input it, correct?
Yes, they put it in as the student's taking the assessment, they enter it into the computer, so they automatically.
And there's
have
no
it.
way to do like one where it's online? No, I guess not. Not at that, where the teacher, could, or the person doing the assessment could.
Well, yeah, that's what they're doing.
That's what
Oh, they are doing it.
Yeah, this is- yeah.
Because
So
I
it's
think the
captured.
idea of them writing it and then putting it in.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is how it's administered. Okay, all right. And then, so it's just, it's cutting it in half, basically, the assessment time. And then
Right.
the data analysis is cut in half.
Yeah, and from the history I have, it's always been something, and Kathy can probably speak to it as well, but that we're getting the results from the initial assessment at the
Yeah.
beginning of your kindergarten took anywhere from a month to a month and a half.
Whoa.
At the kindergarten teacher's hands.
And this takes how long?
Well, it's automatic. Once it's inputted into the system,
Oh my
it's going
gosh.
to produce.
I love it.
Have we considered,
Now I
I'm sorry, are you finished?
No, I'm sorry, I just
Okay.
wanted to make sure that I understood, and now I understand.
She needed a T-chart.
I needed an assessment.
Have we considered evaluating the kindergartners in August prior to the school year?
Interesting enough, there has been discussion about that.
Okay.
So a couple of the kindergarten teachers actually approached me about that.
Okay.
And wanting to know their students even before they get in front of them. So we are going to talk about that further. I do have to give a shout out to Krista Graniti from Dibler. She was a great resource in regards to the history of all of this and how it's evolved over years. But she's one of them that's definitely for
Yeah.
wanting to get it ahead of the game and getting students in prior to. And as you know, we were going to kind of put it on a halt just because of the current situation, but we are looking to implement that full-day kindergarten program this year. And the idea would have been is to assess students prior to coming in to school in order to get the information we need to be able to place them appropriately.
Have you ever compared the assessment, and this is often left field, but if you use your current assessment that you have now, taking a child and doing it a new way, have the two assessments equal themselves out? They're both pointing out the strong and the weak points of that individual student? Has anyone ever done that analysis? And I'm not saying you
Right now.
it was just,
To see if they.
Compare now.
just to compare what our way of doing business before versus this new way.
Right.
So
Maybe
are
it's
you saying you're wondering if you're comparing it to have the same results?
Well, just to see what the results are back, what feedback comes back
I think
on
that
the
would
old
be
test versus.
interesting to
True,
do a couple
but
of
what
them.
I think he's pointing out too is that it's modernized. So some of it sounds like the assessment the current assessment may be somewhat antiquated.
It is.
And irrelevant in parts, right? Okay,
In
so
parts, yes.
that would maybe comparing apples to oranges then, when you're trying to compare them side by side in their effectivity.
I would
So,
only do it just for,
just to know.
maybe like a few,
Yeah.
just to see.
Yeah.
I'd be curious.
Have
but-
you compared other programs and this is the one you're presenting
This is
to
one
us?
that's largely used. The Star Literacy is really a popular
Okay.
program. The My Digdies, I spoke with 4 other districts that are using it, including Quakertown, and they were very impressed by it and to understand the math component. Because the math ones always seems to be difficult to get a sense where kids are and doing that type of a pre-assessment of students. So they were all very impressed with really putting it where students are in regards to their
But you
readiness
researched
for math.
other programs before you presented? I'm just curious.
I'm sorry, what's that?
And you researched other programs, other assessment?
We did, they just feel like they didn't, just
They
didn't
fell short.
add up, right.
Okay,
Myself, Casey Plord, and a couple of the kindergarten teachers met and talked about different programs.
okay.
We looked
That's
at the
all I
one that
wanted.
Upper Park was using. They're actually using the Star Literacy, they're not using My Digby. But
Okay,
yes, we did talk to
Okay.
other districts and just understanding the programs.
okay. Thank you for
And the funds would come from?
The Ready to Learn grant.
Ready to
That's
learn.
what I thought I heard,
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
yeah, and but you said that there are consumables,
I heard that.
right? And
Yes.
so year to year, there would be,
There's like, it's like $1.50
okay.
a pamphlet for the
So it's nothing.
consumable fee.
Well, I mean, not
Like-
nothing,
like-
but it's.
Right, it's minimal compared to, right.
And so I just wanted to, do you have, could I see the,
I can, so I called them and they're not sending them out like they do for show and tell right now. I told her I was doing this part tonight and if we were interested in moving forward at that point, she would then send me. So I can
could I?
get
Because
that,
I'm really curious.
but they're not as quick about handing them out just
Well, that's
sitting and
fine,
sending
yeah,
them.
I mean, I understand. But this, I'm excited
Yeah.
because the faster you find out where they are, the faster you can start
Yeah,
making progress,
absolutely.
so.
Especially given August.
I know, I think it would
Yeah.
be great to get them done before the
Yeah.
school year. I know you're always gonna have stragglers because we get
Right,
a lot of
'cause you get
people.
more
than-
But if we have to do a
Right.
handful of kids in
that's
September, the
great.
first week or two
Right.
of school, that's not as big. The timing.
Get to jump
Yeah.
on.
I wonder what the
It's a kind of
logistics
time
of
like
the
that.
pre-admission would, I wonder what the logistics of that would be.
For what,
The
oh,
logistics,
pre-admission?
yeah,
Well,
doing
I mean,
the-
you can do it,
That's
That's- I mean, it'd be simple enough, I think.
Yeah?
To set, I think so.
Right, it's fine.
It's simple.
I mean, then-
I think that parents would make it,
They take a bigger effort at it.
parents will want to know,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
before their kids walk in the door, that's going to
Yeah.
be something really
Could be
attractive
set up like a
to people,
dentist
so.
appointment.
I think you're right,
It's
Mrs.
big
Fuller,
spreadsheet.
I think that
Yeah.
parents would
Oh,
certainly
parents are gonna want to know.
be on board with doing the pre-admission assessments.
Yeah.
So, actually, Ms. DePaul and I are having a conversation about this year's kindergarten orientation tomorrow. To start planning it now and so we can
Okay.
have that
So we'll
information
figure out
ready
that
to
soon.
go.
Would this program be used for special needs children?
That's a good question. I'm not sure, only because they have so many specific assessments
Yeah,
that
just
they've
just
been
ask
involved
them.
with, but yeah, I'll ask I didn't ask Quakertown that question specifically, so.
I'm so sorry, Mr. Cormack. I seem to not be able to hear you.
Oh, I'm
What
sorry.
was the question?
Yeah.
It could be used with special needs.
Special needs
students.
children?
Oh,
Is it-
yeah.
Could it be
That
applied
is
to that?
a
or
great-
not?
We do
I don't know.
evaluate our special needs kindergartners. They do get evaluated.
Sure, I assume they would, yeah.
Yeah, no, but I.
And Quakertown does
unlike-
use it as their initial screen. They then have other
They have
screeners if
another.
the scores come out in certain
Oh, okay.
ranges, but they do
Oh,
use it
great.
for all the students.
Okay.
Good.
And we would too, right? Yeah.
Some of the early intervention, they may not, because they have good data on those students, but the other students that are coming in.
So tonight you're looking for us to move it to be voted on?
Correct.
at the- But we'll still get,
Yeah, absolutely. I will have her send them now.
does anybody object to having?
Not-
No, I totally support
I
that.
think it's
Great about
exciting. Good. Oh, and that's the end.
There you go.
I'm
That was
refreshing,
great, keep going.
I'm refreshing public comment. There are no additional public comments.
All right. Perfect. I just did have one thought as you were talking about renewing the curriculum and these different initiatives. And as I was sitting here thinking about it and training teachers, I hope this ends, all of this, pandemic stuff ends and going back to normal school happens. But are you kind of thinking about that as you're making your plans, like sort of contingencies? What if this kind of learning had to continue? Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
both with new teachers as well as with our students. I wasn't sure where you were going, whether it was teacher training or whether it was student.
Well, mostly the teachers, like how are you going to present? Does it make a difference when you're planning these kinds of programs?
Well, perfect example is October 12th. Next Monday is one of our big professional development days, and it is almost solely virtual around small groups. And so half of the day, it's AM is elementary and PM is secondary, are doing some of our training with Dr. Gibson around the diversity initiative, and that's the culturally responsive classroom work that they're doing. And that's both full group presentations as well as small group led discussions, as well as individual work on their content and their units that they're bringing to that training. And then the second half of the day is the Atlas training for elementary, and then curriculum work for secondary. And so that is being done remotely. There are some instances where small groups are gathering to do certain work, if that's appropriate, as you think about our psychologists or some of our groups that have smaller people, but for the most part, that training is being done remotely from this site, and utilizing a lot of breakout groups and small group leaders for that.
Can I speak to that as well? Part of my coaching duty is to meet with the hybrid teachers or the remote teachers and even the in-person teachers. And we have little subgroups. I have little subgroups throughout the district. So I have a 5th grade remote group that I meet with every Thursday after your meeting. This is how dedicated our teachers are. They come to an hour Zoom and talk to Dr. Barczyk about how it's going and give suggestions, and we share and we talk about the things that are going well, and we talk about the things that we need to work on, and then they come and sit with me for an hour. Last week we were together for an hour and a half, and we were working on the words their way, and what is that going to look like in the virtual environment versus the classroom environment. So I have my phone being used as a document camera, and my books are all over the place, and their books are all over the place, and I'm helping them group their kids and get their virtual words their way up and off the ground. So even things that they're not necessarily getting credit for, they're still getting that professional learning. Each week I meet with them. I have a 3rd grade team, a 1st grade team, a 2nd grade team, and that's all 3 models, the virtual, the in-person, and the hybrid teams. So we're meeting and we're giving them professional development all the time. There are lunch breaks, they meet with me, I Zoom with them, or I'm in person there at the schools. It's quite remarkable.
That's great.
Well, convey our thanks for.
Yes.
They're doing an amazing job.
You're doing an amazing job too.
Trying hard.
Thank
More
you all.
volunteers than I've
Lots of work.
Yep.
All right, so then, is there any other comments?
I think it's
Cut
all
anybody off?
positive and all stuff. That's great.
Great. So the next curriculum committee meeting is scheduled for November 2nd. And that,
Excellent.
adjournment.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.